Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making this cute spaghetti topper. We are going to do this an easier way. So if you've seen my ramen tutorial, we used the extruder and we actually had to push this clay through the extruder and push to make all the spaghetti. I found this pasta press on Amazon. It has an extension to it, okay, and it shreds the noodles for us. It's not round like the extruder would be. This is more of a linguine rather than a spaghetti. But trust me when I say after you put the epoxy on it, you really can't tell. And all you're going to do is flatten out your clay and you're going to push it through this part, okay, and spin, or twist this wheel, or what is that? This handle. And you will see that you get a whole lot of clay, that you can work with for your topper. Okay, so this tutorial, I guess, could be dual purpose, although we are going to be adding things to make spaghetti and meatballs. You could go ahead and use this process for your ramen, okay, instead of the one originally, okay? But if you did want to watch the ramen tutorial, I'll have it linked somewhere on this video, okay? The only thing I will say about using this part is that there are some little scraggly pieces, so I like to go ahead and separate the clay and shake it out so that they kind of fall off. But comes out really great. I wound up using a translucent clay from Sculpey 3. Okay, I'll have that linked. And I'll also have that pasta press linked in the description bar. Okay, so once you have all of your noodles separated, you're going to go ahead and add it to your top. Of course, we're not going to bake our lid, but we do want to get the right fit. Okay, so you see me here, I'm just kind of, pushing in, getting the right fit onto my lid. This is a 12-ounce Shorty from the Still Magnolia company. I will have that linked in the description bar as well. But all I'm doing is I'm kind of building up and seeing how I want this to go. And I think I like it just kind of like that. And then once I finish with this part, I'm gonna go ahead and take the whole thing up and I'm going to put it onto my little tray, my little tray, and pop it in the oven. Okay, because this is very thin clay, it's not thick, we can go ahead and bake this only for like 15-20 minutes or less, to be honest with you. But if you're new to clay, I would do some, trial runs at first because everyone's oven is different. I would bake this in my oven at about 175, 200 for about 15-20 minutes, but your oven may be hotter. Okay, so just kind of test it out and see. But yeah, that's all you're gonna do. Then you're gonna take it, put it on your tray, and if you made a lot of noodles like I did, you can go ahead and do another another topper. Okay, so just repeating that process. I'm gonna put it on my lid, kind of fit it out right, and then I am going to make sure that I'm not covering the straw hole, and I'm gonna put it on my tray to get ready for bake. Okay, so now we're gonna make some meatballs. You can go ahead and get some brown clay. You have a couple options here. In my Patreon group, I taught basically you can go ahead and use foil and just paint the foil. You don't necessarily have to wrap the foil in, clay or anything. But if you decided to, they have a numerous amount of colors at Michael's or any arts and crafts store. And if you happen to have brown or you want brown, you can just go ahead and cover your foil circle or foil ball in some brown clay. Okay. I rolled this out on my pasta press on a number 2 or 3, I believe. It's very, very thin. And, I'm just covering it up. I'm going to take another piece of foil and kind of make indentions, if you will, because when you take it with your hand and you're rolling it around, it's kind of just smoothing out the clay. So I kind of wanted to give it some texture. So I went ahead and took a little piece of foil, crumbled it up, and I'm going to kind of press it all over to kind of give it some texture. I'm going to repeat that process, and I'm going to put it on my baking mat or my baking tray to get ready to bake with my noodles. Okay, so while our topper is in the oven baking, we're gonna go ahead and make our handles for our pot. The tumbler is a pot of spaghetti, and while we could have gone ahead and used clay, just clay, I wanted to make an armature just to make sure that it is sturdy and it's not going to break. That was just a personal decision. If you decide to do it, you are going to need some wire and some little pliers. You're just going to twist it, and then you're going to wrap this wire with some foil. Okay. And then once you wrap it with your foil, you're going to go ahead and wrap it basically with some clay. All right. And that's going to give it the opportunity to kind of bend. You can shape it to what you want it to be without having to worry about it breaking. Okay. I will put the wire that I used in the description bar as well. But yeah, it's pretty simple. You're just going to twist, 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 and then you are going to add your foil and then add your clay. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and speed up that part. Okay, so if you have any clay tools or anything, honestly, you want to use your clay tool, maybe some alcohol, just to kind of smooth out your clay from any lumps and bumps. You can add clay to help, fill in some spots, and then you can take a little bit of a scraper and pull the clay away if it becomes bulky in any spots. But you want to do that, and you want to bake this in your oven. Okay, go ahead and do both handles at the same time so you can make sure that they are around the same size. Okay, and then don't worry about it sticking to this because it's going to come right off after you bake it. Okay, I went ahead and decided to glitter this tumbler. I used a three color ombre, black, like deep silver, and then regular silver, just to kind of give it that seasoned pot look. Okay, and then I sealed the glitter in with Rust-Oleum clear coat. I did that twice. Okay, I went ahead and glittered my handles as well, and then after my handles were sealed, I went ahead and added them onto my glittered tumbler with hot glue. Okay, and then after everything was good to go, I went ahead and applied my epoxy all over this tumbler, trying to really make sure that all the glitter was covered. I wound up having to do that twice. After, sanding the first layer of epoxy, I went ahead and added a second layer of epoxy, and then I added my decal. Okay, so our pasta is ready. Our meatballs are ready. I'm just taking some hot glue, guys, and I am just adding it to this topper. I am really happy with how it came out so far. And remember, we're going to be sealing all of this in with our epoxy. So all we're doing right now is just adding our little final touches. After the meatballs are setting, we're going to go ahead and use some puffy paint, to kind of imitate the spaghetti sauce. Okay. Funny story for those of you that are considering joining my Patreon group. We have a lot of fun. We had a really interesting discussion about, who puts what in their spaghetti sauce, right? And we found out a lot of people put sugar in their spaghetti, even famous people like, chefs, everybody. You guys might be like, yeah, duh. Who doesn't put sugar in their spaghetti? But I didn't put sugar in my spaghetti, and a couple other people didn't either. We found it very fun, kind of going around, talking about who puts what in their spaghetti. So you guys put in the comments, do you guys put sugar in your spaghetti sauce? And not enough to make it sweet, but we found that, or they were telling me that it cuts the acidity of the tomato sauce. So, yep, that's a fun fact for all of you that didn't know that, like me. Okay, but for this topper, we're using some puffy paint, and it's a great way to add sauce. The only thing is this puffy paint does take overnight to dry. And I can be a little impatient sometimes. So I was like, and I tried heating it up with my heater, like placing in front of a heater. That didn't speed it up. I just needed to wait. So I did. Um, and you'll notice that the puffy paint will settle down into the spaghetti. So that was pretty cool. And you're just going to add that along any areas that you want to create that sauce. Another thing that I did is I went ahead and off camera, made some like meatball sauce looking stuff, just with some brown clay, and I just added it on top of this puppy paint, and then shook it down so it can kind of look like it was right in there to give it like a meat sauce look. But that's all you need to do. Let this dry overnight, and then you will be able to go ahead and seal it with your epoxy. Okay, so we're mixing up some of our A and B FDA compliant resin, and we are going to add this to our spaghetti and meatball topper. I added a little bit of dark brown paint to just kind of give it some realistic, colorization on my meatballs. And now I'm going to go ahead and paint this epoxy onto this topper. Okay, so I'm going to kind of lift it up at first, and I'm going to start with the bottom. Okay, and I'm really going to be focusing on all the nooks and crannies inside, like in the pasta, right? The part we really can't see. It will drain out, which is fine, but I'm going to kind of hold it with my glove, and then you'll see me keep turning, adding epoxy, turning, adding epoxy, and then I'm going to go ahead and start painting the front of it with epoxy. I like using the brush instead of just pouring it on because I want to pay attention to detail. Sometimes if you just pour it on, you're going to miss a spot. So with the brush, you're really able to kind of focus in on the parts that need to have epoxy. Okay. And that's what you guys really need to do, because you don't want to give out clay, especially in a topper that has not been sealed with resin. Okay, it would break, and we work too hard for it to break. Okay, so just pay attention to detail and keep going around and around. I am going to put this topper on my silicone mat. Okay, and I am gonna let the epoxy pool. So you know how sometimes I'm saying, no, we don't want it to pool. For this topper, I do want it to pool, but I'm going to lift it up before it gets too hard, and then I'm going to place it on my topper while it's nice and sticky. Okay, and that's going to give me a great way for it to adhere to that topper. And then if you want, you can go ahead and add a second layer of epoxy just to make sure that everything is good to go. Okay, so it's time to add it to our lid. This is gonna be me pulling it off of the silicone mat. As you can see, it's just one lump sum of resin. You could have cut that off with your scissors, but I'm just folding it down, pulling away any pieces that I don't want really there. But now I'm just folding it down. It's still tacky, very, very much tacky. So I'm gonna go ahead and carefully take this, topper, and I'm going to put it on my lid. Okay, you see me taking my glove off here because I wanted to make sure I didn't get resin on this lid, like a lot of it. So here I'm just kind of pressing down and making sure that it's pushing into the lid. And I love it. I love the way it came out. It looks really good. And yeah, you're gonna let this continue to cure. And if you feel like, you know what, I need to add one more layer of resin, you can just around the top, because we focused on the bottom and we focused on the sides. So now if you want, you can just add a light layer of resin onto your top. I thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I decided to make this a Lady in the Tramp theme tumbler, adding some bling to the decal as well as the heart. I think it came out very beautifully. If you have any questions about this tutorial, go ahead and leave them in the comments section, and do not forget to subscribe.